Today's video is presented to you by the EA Creator Network. Special thanks to EA for providing me early access to College Football 26 to record this video. Please keep in mind everything you're about to see is still a work in progress and things can change. If you want to see more early access College Football 26 content, be sure to hit that thumbs up button on the video and subscribe to the channel. What's going on, everybody out there? This is Popular Stranger, and we are back at you again today with another College Football 26 video. In today's video, we're going to give you 26 gameplay tips that you need to know when starting up College Football 26. Some are going to be based for beginners, some going to be for experienced players. There's some new features in the game that you need to know about as well, so this video is going to help all of you. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Now, in this video, we are going to jump over to the practice field and show you a ton of different gameplay tips that you need to know about when you're in game. But before we do that, I do want to go through a few settings and things that you can set up prior to that potentially will impact your gameplay. And the first one is going to be going over to the settings menu. So from your home screen, if you tab over to the right with R1 or right bumper on Xbox, once you get to that settings menu, the very first option is going to be game settings. When you go into game settings, one of the first things you're going to take a look at will be your playbook options. Now, outside of the Road to the College Football Playoffs game mode and Ultimate Team, whatever playbooks you select here are going to carry over. Meaning, if you select Alabama, anytime you play against the computer, when you load into a Dynasty, you're going to have the Alabama playbook by default. And you can select any of the college teams available in the game here to get their playbook. When it comes to the defensive side of the ball, a little bit different. Instead of having teams available for you, you're actually just going to have base formations. And I want to be clear on this, the 3-2-6 defensive playbook or the 3-3-5 defensive playbook, it doesn't only contain 3-3-5 formations, but that's going to be the primary focus within these playbooks. And of course, you don't have to change any of this. This is more so based off of preference. Now, if you back out to the main menu, go to the Create and Share tab and go down to Custom Playbooks, not only is this a place where you can create a custom playbook for yourself, and this will not work online, it's more so for local files, but it's also a great in-game tool to utilize to look through the various playbooks within the game and decide which ones you might want to use. Of course, it's always going to be best to try these out and see how the plays actually work, but if you go in and select a playbook, you can see all of the formations and all of the play are in those given formations for each individual playbook for each individual team. Going back to your game options menu, you can toggle things like your skill difficulty, with Heisman being the most difficult setting and freshman being the easiest. If you're new to the game or an inexperienced college football player, you might want to start off on varsity or All-American and work your way up to Heisman. You can change the default quarter length, the accelerated play clock if you want, which would make for a quicker game experience. There's a lot of other options within the game option tab here in settings, and I certainly encourage you to go through them for yourself. I just want to point out the more important ones that you need to know about. When it comes to passing settings and passing mechanics, there's a lot of different options, and I'm just going to say it now. Please use what is most comfortable for you. Don't select a certain setting just because you see other people using it. Try all of your options out. Whatever one feels most natural to you is the route that you can go. You have placement and accuracy, which I like to use. Classic passing, which if you're new to the game, this is the one that I would encourage you to try first and again work your way up there. You have revamp passing, which was introduced last year in College Football 25. It actually carried over to Madden 25 as well, and it's back for another year. And then you have placement. Again, I prefer placement and accuracy. There's sub settings below that based on the option that you pick, but if you go to your passing type and look to your right there, there's a description for each type of setting and exactly what it does. You also have an individual setting for kicking, and I'll show you how to do this on the field in a moment, but the first default option is going to be tap and hold. Option number 2 will be tap and tap, and again, if you look to your right here, there is a description on each of these. So with the default setting being tap and hold, the first thing you have to pay attention to is your kick meter bouncing from left to right. This is going to be the accuracy. But not only that, using your left analog stick, you can aim the kick directionally or towards the uprights. In this example, we don't have to do too much because we're in the center of the field and it's a fairly easy field goal attempt. But when it comes to the tap and hold setting, the tap is indicating the first button press And you want to do that when the football is basically closest to the center of this arc. On PlayStation, the button you're going to be tapping is X. On Xbox, the button you're going to be pressing is A. Once you tap the button to select your direction, you're going to want to keep that button held down, and once I attempt this kick, you're going to see the arrow fill up with a color. The goal is to get the most power you can on the kick by filling up that meter, but right before the red tip at the top of the pointing arrow. So I'm going to press the button or tap the button and then hold it as I watch that arrow fill up and then let it go once it reaches that point. With the tap and tap, it's the same idea, but instead of tapping and holding the button, you're going to press it once to select your left to right accuracy. You're going to press it a second time instead of holding it to fill up that kick meter. And I did put this practice kick here on a hash mark just to show you the example that you do have to utilize your left analog stick to also aim in the direction that you want to kick. But I'm going to press the button once, then again a second time. It's the same idea, but it's 2 button presses instead of 1. Going back into the settings, there is crossplay in College Football 26, as there was in College Football 25 as well. This will allow you to play against opponents online with other consoles, and there is now crossplay in the Dynasty game mode as well. If you happen to want to turn this off, this is where you get to do it. This one's more of a personal preference, but you might run into this situation, so I want you to know how to turn it off. If you go to settings and the visual feedback tab and go down a few spots, you're going to get to cameras and specifically camera toggle. Pressing the down button on your directional pad allows you to change the various camera angles, and sometimes when you're making adjustments, specifically quick adjustments on offense or defense, you might make a mistake and toggle to a different camera view, and then the ball is snapped and you feel out of control. So if you want to turn that off, this is where you can do it. Also, if you want to utilize that camera toggle feature, it is worth noting that it's only the down button on the directional pad this year. In prior years, to scroll through the various camera angles, you could press up or down. The reason that it was switched is because there is a brand new feature on both offense and defense called dynamic subs, which is going to be utilized by pressing the up button on your directional pad, but we'll come back and talk about that feature, which is brand new, a little bit later. Next to settings, if you go to the More tab, you're going to find the list of all of the abilities in the game. There's mental and physical abilities, no X factors, unlike Madden 25 and the soon-to-be released Madden 26. But this is where you can find the description at the bronze, silver, gold, and platinum levels of any ability in the game. These are not customizable. They are predetermined by EA. Certain players will get them, and that will carry over to game modes like Play Now, Road to the College Football Playoffs, and Dynasty. As far as Ultimate Team goes, there are player items that will have customizable abilities that increase in tiers as the year goes on. But if you're wondering what a certain ability does, this is the best way to find it. So far, we've done a few things in practice mode, but if you're wondering how to get there, you're going to go to the training tab from the main menu and go to open practice. This is not considered one of the 26 tips, but Minigames is now in College Football 26, and essentially you could treat this as a practice field as well. If you want to go into practice mode with your College Football Ultimate Team, you go into the cut menu, and from the play screen, go to the right, you can see practice, which will be the same idea, but instead you get to use your Ultimate Team. Within almost any game mode, you can customize your celebrations, and I'm in practice right now, but you can do this within a Dynasty game, a Play Now game. You can do it during an online game, but you are going to have a limited time within the pause menu there. But if you do hit your select or start button to get to the pause menu, there is a celebration section, and this will show you all of the various celebrations in the game, whether it's scoring a touchdown, getting a first down, getting an interception on defense, and the different button combinations that you can press to carry those out on the field. When you're on either offense or defense and you want to see the play art, pretty straightforward here. All you have to do is hold down R2 on PlayStation or right trigger on Xbox, and that's going to show you the play that you called. If you don't like that play, if you selected the wrong play, or you notice something with your opponent's defense that you might be able to take advantage of with a different play, and it could be vice versa as well, you can change your play on defense to attack your opponent's offense. You do have a audible menu that allows you to switch to any play that's preset up. To bring up that audible menu, you're going to hit square on PlayStation or X on Xbox, and if you look to your right, based on the formation, in this example we're on offense obviously, you're going to have 4 plays that you can select. Now you can use your directional pad to go up and down and toggle between the 4 different options, or you can directly press the button. Like if I want to go to inside zone, I can press triangle on PlayStation, and that's now going to change my play to an inside zone. If you ever happen to forget that, you can also press in your right analog stick on both Xbox or PlayStation, and that will bring up your entire pre-play menu where it does show you that square is going to be audible. There's other options on here that we're going to go through, but for now, just focusing on audibles. Aside from the 4 plays that you have, you can reset your play with L2, or that would be left trigger on Xbox. You can flip your play with R2 on PlayStation or right trigger on Xbox, and if you use your directional pad to the left or to the right, you do have the ability to scroll amongst various formations based on the number of wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, and offensive linemen that are on the field, and that will give you another subset of 4 different audibles to choose from. If you ever want to change those audibles, you do have the ability to customize them, and again, the same thing's going to work on the defensive side of the ball. We were just using offense for an example, but if you're in the stack Y flex formation for an example, you can see at the bottom left of your screen, L2 is going to be audibles. That would be left trigger on Xbox. You select that, it's going to show you the 4 default audibles that come with that formation. But if I don't like to run Y sal, I can select that play with X on PlayStation or A on Xbox, and it will then give me all of the additional plays within that formation to choose from. And if I want to change that audible to a halfback draw, I can go ahead and select that, and now that becomes one of my 4 available audibles within that specific formation, and you can do that with any formation in the game for the most part. Also in that pre-play menu will be hot routes. So hot routes are going to allow you to change from a selected amount of routes that either your running back, wide receiver, or tight ends have available to them without needing any type of ability, so it allows you to almost customize any play in the game. Once you select that hot route menu, which will be triangle on PlayStation or Y on Xbox, you're then going to select the receiver of the route that you want to change. In this instance, we will press square for Jonte Cook, and as you can see, with all these various different options, depending on the button that you press, is going to set up a route. So with the left analog stick, you can go up, down, left, or right. Same thing with your right analog stick. Your directional pad will have options for up, down, left, or right. And then even your comeback route being L2, your smoke screen being R2, are additional hot routes available to you. So if I want to put Jonte Cook on a slant, I'm going to press the right analog stick in the direction to the right here, and now if I show you my play art, you can see that he's on a slant. If I want to change it again, I'll go ahead and select him or any other wide receiver, but we'll use Cook for an example again, and this time we're going to put him on a post route, which we're going to do by pushing up on our right analog stick. And as you can see, his play has now changed again. Now, along with custom hot routes comes custom route stemming, which is a new feature added last year, and it's back again this year, and it's really good for setting up offense. Now, it will not work on every single type of route out there, but a lot of the hot routes that are available, it will. So using Cook again for an example, we're going to press triangle to bring up our hot route menu. We're going to select square to select that receiver, and instead of doing any type of hot route, if you look to the bottom left of this whole menu, you're going to see custom stem. If we press or hold down L1 for custom stem, it's going to bring up all of the routes on every single receiver going out for a pass, but specifically on Jonte Cook, because we selected him initially, we can now press up or down on our directional pad and change the length, the depth, if you will, of that route. And again, it's not going to work on every route, but a post it will work on. You can do it on an in route, an out route. I mean, you can see me doing it on the other side of the field here, and this is a default or stock out route. It's up to you to kind of test out the various formations and routes that work for you, but it's a really, really good way to have more versatility to your offense. We talked about the camera toggle earlier being the down button on the directional pad only this year. That's because the up button is going to be reserved for dynamic subs, which is going to allow you to substitute players in and out of the game without ever having to pause. And after I've played a lot of Dynasty game mode on this early capture build, I found this feature incredibly useful, and I think even in College Football Ultimate Team, if you have a deep roster and your depth chart is full, specifically with wear and tear being in play, this is a great brand new addition to the game. So by default, it's going to show you your entire offense, and you can use your directional pad once this menu is up to go up and down throughout the various players and positions that they play at. If I want to substitute our starting running back, right now we have Yassine Willis in there. We're just going to press either left or right on our directional pad. And as you can see, we can now put Nixon in, and he will be our starting running back until we take him out. Not only can you do that, you can see a lot of information. It gives you the impacts of wear and tear. It shows you their status. Green is always good. Red is going to be bad. And you can see their OVR, which will change based on their wear and tear status. In Dynasty mode specifically, I've seen players who are banged up have a lower OVR until they're able to heal. Now, if you do make a ton of different changes and you want to resort back to the starters, It's going to take one button press here. All you have to do is select Reset to Starters, which will be X on Xbox, Square on PlayStation. You also can toggle between all offense and other options here, and the same is going to apply to the defensive side of the ball, but with R1 and L1 on PlayStation, or right bumper and L and left bumper on Xbox, we can go through our offensive line, we can go through the skill players, and then back to all offense. And while we're still on the field on offense, let's talk about the coach cam, another thing that will carry over to defense as well. You're going to activate this or show this by holding down L2 or left trigger on Xbox. And remember, you can always press in the R3 button or right analog stick to pull up your pre-play menu, and you can see that Coach Cam, specifically called Coach Vision, will indicate or be showing there that that's the button that you want to go ahead and press. Now within Coach Vision, you have a ton of different options. The diamonds to the left are going to be activated with the left analog stick in the direction that they're indicated, so you can see abilities on your opponent's defensive line, their linebackers, and on offense, by pressing down, you can see your offensive line abilities, and pushing to the right, again, all with your left analog stick, you can see your skill position abilities. The diamond to the bottom right of your screen will show you your team's composure, the matchups, and if they're going to be in your favor, the wear and tear on each individual player, and then also their blocking assignments. If you ever want to change those blocking assignments, you can do that by pressing L1 or left bumper on Xbox. With the left and right analog sticks, you can slide your protection all the way to the left, all the way to the right. You can do a half slide to the right or left. There's a lot of strategy involved with these things, but I just want you guys to know these options are available. A couple other things to point out are going to be IDing the mic, double teaming players, and the brand new untarget defender feature, which is essentially a way to say to your offensive line, don't worry about that guy at all, block everybody else. With that feature specifically, once you select it, you're going to move your left analog stick in the direction, and you can see the little triangular fire icon is going to be the player that you want to untarget. Once you have it hovered over that player, you can go ahead and select it with X on PlayStation or X on Xbox. Same rules will apply for IDing the mic, which is going to be the X button, and that one's going to be indicated with an M and a downwards triangle. You're going to move around with your left and right analog stick, and once you identify the player that you want to ID, you're going to select that with X or A on Xbox. And the third one's going to be double team, which is going to be pressing down on your right analog stick. This one will be indicated by the triangle with the plus in the middle of it. If you ever want to double team a defensive tackle or defensive end, anybody on the D line, essentially, you can do that. And again, you can move left to right with that with your left analog stick. And once you want to select that player, you select it with X on PlayStation or X on Xbox. We're going to show you a bunch of things on defense, but before we get out of here on the offensive side of the ball, let's talk about coach adjustments. When you're on your play calling screen, you can press in your right analog stick to bring up the coach adjustment menu. With these various options, you can go through them by pressing up or down on your directional pad, and to change whatever you want to change here, from balanced to conservative to aggressive, you're going to use your left and right D-pad buttons, and it will tell you to the right of that the pros and the cons for changing any of these. Within the coach adjustment menu, another new feature is substitution, which you're going to get to by pressing R1 on PlayStation or right bumper on Xbox, and this is going to be mostly based off of wear and tear, but it's essentially a way to let the computer know to substitute players in more frequently or less frequently based on their wear and tear. The custom option is something that you can set up within the settings of the game back on the main menu. Just like you have those coach adjustments available to you on offense, you can do the same thing on defense by pushing in the right analog stick on your controller. The defensive coach adjustments are going to be a lot more in-depth, but you do have the substitution option in balance with your wear and tear settings. And again, you can scroll through these and take a look. They will show you the pros and cons by switching to conservative, aggressive, or balanced. Some of the other things on the defensive side of the ball are going to be cornerback matchups, which you can go by overall, by speed, height. You have all of these options available to you. There's coaching adjustments based on how you're going to defend the option, various option plays. We're going to talk about custom zone drops in a moment here, or I should say custom zone stems, but if you do want to have custom zone drops, you can set the default length to where they play for flats, for curl flats, and hooks, all in this menu by the yardage. One of the brand new features this year in your defensive adjustments is the width and the depth of your safeties. You have done a ton of different things that you can toggle through here, but as you can see, these are new ways to customize your defense, things that we did not have in College Football 25 for your safety specifically. And if you look to the right again, it does give you a description on everything that you can expect as you change these various settings. So some things are going to work for you, some things are going to work for others, but all of this customization is great. Also back for another year is going to be coverage shells on defense. There is no base align in College Football 26 at this very moment, but another way to essentially customize the defense that you're playing or set up various looks is by using your right analog stick to go up and down. If you look towards the middle right part of your screen, you can see within this specific formation of 3-3 over, we can change a cover 3 defense to a cover 0 look, even though it still might be cover 3 if we select cover 3 match, which is our square option over there. If we want to set up as a 2-man under look, we can set it up as a cover 2 look, a cover 3 look, a cover 4 look. Every formation in play will not have this option available to you, but there are a ton of different cover shell options available on a lot of formations within the game, and going up and down on your right analog stick is how you're going to change them. So this is what cover 3 sky is going to look like in a cover 3 shell. But if I change it to a 2-man under shell, you can see that the alignment is a lot different. Notice the safeties are way back. That's because we were changing the different depths within the coach adjustments menu. It'll be up to you to find a defensive setting that you're comfortable with, but you have a lot of customization between all of this. After both teams select their plays, you do have quick adjustments on defense. You can think of it like hot routes or audibles, more like hot routes, but on defense. And again, you can press in your right analog stick to pull up the pre-play menu. You can still audible on defense like we did on offense. You can still pull up coach vision on defense like we did on offense as well. But specifically pressing triangle on defense will bring up your coverage adjustments where you have additional control to move around your defense based on their position. There's also quick adjustments by hitting triangle again. And again, you see all of the options in front of you with the coverage adjustments based on the left or right analog stick and the direction that you press it in. But hitting triangle a second time will bring up your quick adjustments. In this specific situation, it allows you to change the defense in the secondary by selecting a defender. We'll hit square in this example, and if I want to put him on a soft squat or an outside third or hard flat or a cloud flat, you have all of those options with your left analog stick. If I want to blitz him, I can press down on the right analog stick. That's going to put him in a blitz. I'm going to do a video specifically on quick adjustments and everything else you might want to use to pull up strategy, but for now, we just want to show you exactly how to do them, and that's how you're going to achieve that. If you're worried about your opponent's quarterback or even running back getting to the outside, you can do a contain by double tapping the R1 button on PlayStation or right bumper on Xbox. My apologies, I misspoke there. You're going to hit R1 a singular time and then L1 to do QB contain. But as you can see there, it is in this sub menu once you hit R1. And again, that's going to be right bumper on Xbox, L1 on PlayStation, and then left bumper on Xbox. But when I show my play art, you can see those two defensive ends are now in a contain. Another way to slow down mobile quarterbacks outside of a contain is putting a QB spy on the field. Now you can individually select any player on defense, and then once you do that, you're going to select them with X on PlayStation or A on Xbox and push your right analog stick to the left to put them in a QB spy, and that little orange circle around the player will indicate that they're in a QB spy. This can also be achieved by quick adjustments, but like I said, we'll have another very detailed video on that on the way. Just like route stemming on offense, you can now do the same thing on defense, and that's going to be a new feature in College Football 26. Just using this same formation as an example, you can see we have curl flats both on the left and right part of your screen. If I want to change maybe the depth of one of them on the left side of the screen, we're going to bring up our coverage adjustments menu. Again, that's triangle on PlayStation, Y on Xbox. We're going to press that one a second time for the quick adjustments, specifically to defensive backs, and we're going to press L1 to change the zone depth on that right of screen defensive back. Once we do that, we have a ton of different options, but just like on offense, you have a custom zone. So if we hold down L1 again and toggle up and down the directional pad, you can see we can send him back, we can push him back down on the field, but you ultimately have the ability to change almost any zone on the field by doing these new custom zones with this new feature. You can also do this on linebackers. It's a little bit of a different setup. You would push your right directional pad button 2 times to bring up your different linebacker toggles, X to select cutter in this situation, and then we can hold down L1 for a custom zone on him. And as you can see, we can make this mid-read go way up the field or way down. You just have all of this flexibility. Again, I'll probably do a separate dedicated video breaking this down in a lot more depth, but the new zone stem feature is really, really nice to set up your defense if you're trying to take away something that you know your opponent's going to be running. If you're still watching this deep into the video, I appreciate it, but we've made it all the way to tip number 26. That's going to be a new feature that was introduced last year, switch stick, which is really a great key to being good on defense. After the ball is snapped in a passing play, you can use your right analog stick to move around and cover or use different defenders in the secondary, and I did have to put the D line on all QB spies so we don't rush the passer. But notice the player I'm using, right? I'm running around with him from left to right and back and forth. If I wanted to switch to the guy closest to me on the right of my screen or even the left of my screen, I can push my right analog stick in the direction of that defender that I want to switch to. So you can see this DB over on the left. Watch how the circle indicator on the player that I'm using changes when I press that. Now we're over here, right? And we're controlling this guy. If I want to go back, we can do this way. It was kind of more in the direction of, we'll say like 4 or 5 o'clock. If I want to go up, we can select him, then him, then him, then him. You know, the angle of the direction that you press that right analog stick in is going to impact the player that you select on. But you can see here in the order that I want to go to, I can switch to almost any defender on the field to utilize that player. So again, it's just a really big skill gap in getting stops on defense and baiting your opponent into an interception. Just one thing or 2 things I want to point out. If you're on a player who is blitzing before the play starts, you're not going to be able to switch stick from that player. And if you're on a defensive end or defensive tackle that's engaged with an offensive lineman, you're not going to be able to switch off of that player. So those are just 2 things to keep in mind. But there it is, 26 gameplay tips for new players, for beginners, and new features that are included in College Football 26. I hope it helped. If it did, make sure to click that thumbs up. And thank you for watching. My name is Popular Stranger. I'm out. Peace.